Hello everyone. Let's talk about green equity transition designation. My name is Karoliina Loikkanen, and today I have the pleasure to interview Johanna Grönroos from Lamor. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
And congratulations, you just received green equity transition designation.
Thank you.
The green equity transition designation is attainable for companies of its investments. It was like 50% is considered green.
Yes.
Could you describe Lamor's business model and main products a bit to give us a context for this?
Yes. So basically, our business consists of three main business lines. The first one consists of environmental protection. That is mainly to make sure that in case an environmental incident would take place, there are capabilities to protect the environment. If there would be an oil spill, for instance, there would be technologies and capabilities to protect the nature. On the other hand, if a spill or leakage would take place, then we would be the one who would do the responder job as well to make sure we can protect the nature as well as possible. That's the first one. The second one is about soil remediation. Unfortunately, in the world, there is a huge amount of previous leakages which have polluted the land areas and water areas. And our goal is to remove that pollution, make sure that the nature can return, the biodiversity can return to those areas. And the potential and the workload there is heavy, unfortunately. And the third one is relating to material recycling. There we do, for instance, waste treatment facilities where we take, for instance, waste from ships which come to a port and make sure that the waste is treated correctly. And now the latest one where we heavily make investments now is relating to chemical recycling of plastics. So building a blueprint facility in Porvoo, Kilpilahti currently, and the aim is to produce recyclable oil for plastics production, making sure that the crude oil usage would be less and the plastic pollution problem could be solved.
Sounds extremely interesting, and it really sounds like you are in the so-called green business, if you will. So I understood that last year you actually had the green equity designation, and this year you had this green equity transition designation. And there is a slight difference between these two: the transition designation focusing on the green investments, and the green equity designation focusing on both revenue and investments. So what has changed?
So basically, we received the green equity designation for the first time early 22, applied for it in 21. And the split of revenue, we are a growth company, and the split of revenue is, of course, changing in our business. And when an assessment was made now in 24, the revenue relating to spill response. So there has been spills where we have participated in responding the spills, and when the company who pays that work has been an oil company, that revenue is classified as red revenue. And that's why we didn't meet the criteria for being a green equity company. We found it important to stay in the program. We still look heavily for green revenue. Our revenue for 23 was more than 90% it's green. So most of it is green, but since there is a limit for the red revenue, that's why we are currently in the green transition label and in this program. The goals are the same. We're still looking for being a green company. So in that sense, no changes, but the assessment is an annual one. And that's why the change.
Yeah, and there must be some sort of a criteria to really make the difference.
Exactly.
Quite interesting detail. What about then if we think about your investments a little bit more? You've also recently launched a green bond. Is there any sort of a link between this green equity transition designation and your green bond? Has one process supported the other, or how are those two intertwined?
Yeah. So basically, when the assessor creates how the revenue and the operations are assessed, how they are categorized between green, yellow, and red, the same assessment applies for green bonds. So basically, when we had the green equity assessment made, we knew already that which kind of projects will be assessed green, which of course supported us heavily in looking for the green bond, because we knew that most of our business will be categorized as green business. Then, of course, for green bond, you need to have the green bond framework, which is a completely separate process compared to the green equity. But in our case, the assessor was the same. They knew us already, so it was quite easy process actually to walk through the green bond framework audit, which is mandatory before publishing or collecting money for green note.
So it really sounds like those processes were in a way really intertwined as a process.
Yes.
And there was really advantages.
Yes.
Having the other when getting the other one. Let's talk a bit about the technicalities related to the process itself. How was the process? What kind of challenges there were? What were the biggest added values?
The process is, you of course need to collect data, as in each and every case when you talk about ESG assessments, you need to collect certain amount of data relating to operations, your revenue split, your cost split, your investments, having workshops with the assessors, explaining our business is not the one which is off shelf everybody doing, so we need to explain quite in detail what we're actually up to, what we are aiming to do with the customers. So a lot of discussions with the assessor and creating the understanding what we're actually doing, then providing data to support what we are actually telling. On top of them reviewing the environmental parts, which are of course really critical here, they of course assessed other parts as well, social and governance. So it was basically a walkthrough of all the ESG work done. We applied for the green equity for the first time when we were, or started the process before we were listed. And in that sense, the sustainability reporting was basically non-existent in 21. So it was, for us, it was really valuable because basically we received a lot of feedback how to develop our sustainability reporting going forward. So we had the sustainability in our strategy, but the reporting methods, it was really critical to receive more understanding on how to improve things going forward. So I would say it was a valuable process. The challenges in our case have been relating to the business models we have, how they should be assessed. We are currently assessing our also EU taxonomy. So same question there, whether all of the things we are doing are green or when an oil company is the customer, what is the correct way to assess them. A lot of discussions, and I guess all of us learned a lot more about the business what comes to the assessments. But overall, a useful process, I would say, increases the understanding because there is an outside party who is heavily going into the business models we are in.
Yeah, it really sounds like that. Hey, you mentioned European Union taxonomy. I think at least part of the people watching this are quite interested in the European Union taxonomy, and how is that linked to this green equity transition designation? Is there some sort of a link? Are the processes again supporting each other, like you already described a bit?
Yes, so they are of course supporting each other. The assessments. They are looking for the same goals. So of course, green transition is behind both of these, whether you talk about green equity or EU taxonomy, and looking for sustainable business models. However, for us, for 23, since we will do our thorough taxonomy alignment assessment only for 24, since we are part of the taxonomy assessments only now for the 4 later parts. And now pollution prevention and control, material recycling, protection of biodiversity are part of the taxonomy. So it's really in the core of our business. And now the alignment will be reported only for 24. And that's why the assessor, SZB, used their previous framework to assess our revenue, and when the taxonomy assessment has been made, then of course it will impact also the green equity. They are not completely aligned, but of course they are heavily interlinked, and remains to be seen how it then moves on when we have our own taxonomy assessments in place. The processes heavily support each other, that's for sure, because the data is the same we are analyzing. The criteria may be a bit different at some points, but of course they are heavily interlinked.
What about your comments for those companies who are considering of applying for this green equity transition designation or green equity designation? Any recommendations, any thoughts you would like to share?
I would actually say that if the company is within the scope of EU taxonomy reporting, I think it's even easier to be part of this program, because you basically need to do similar kind of assessments already for that purpose. Then I think it's always easier to tell customers or investors who don't have their own frameworks how to assess companies. It's easier to say that this is the framework Nasdaq is applying, and these are the criteria we have met based on a third-party assessment. So in that sense, I think it's a good thing. And then, of course, you can learn when you move on in these processes, receive feedback, and because always the most important thing is that you improve your business to be more sustainable. The more you understand and are on top of things, the better. That's at least how I see it. And then it's up to the company how much you can actually use it, receive the advantages of these kind of labels. That's how it works.
Hey, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure having you here. Really insightful to hear about your green business model, about your journey towards Nasdaq Green Equity Transition designation. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure to be here and tell about our sustainable business models.
And thank you as well. And thank you for joining us. More information on Nasdaq Green Equity designation you can find from Nasdaq web pages. I wish you a nice day.